right. Hey, as I mentioned, we're in the third week of this series, this Epiphany series. And an epiphany is, man, there's no way we could ever understand that unless God makes us know what that truth is. And so we've been walking through a series of Jesus is, and then filling in with the epiphany, the aha, Jesus is our miracle worker. So if you have a Bible or device, we're going to be in Mark 9, and we're going to be walking through this section of Mark. And as you turn there, and if you didn't bring a Bible, we do have some down by your shin bones, and the page number corresponds with that. In this section, this episode occurs when Jesus, Peter, James, and John, they're rejoining the disciples coming back down from the mountain after the transfiguration. They have this mountaintop amazing moment where the deity of Christ, his Godhood, I mean, it's just restored and beaming and glowing. And you got Moses and Elijah and the voice of the Father in this really incredible time. And while that's happening, there's something else happening at the bottom of the mountain. And down at the bottom of the mountain, you have a father whose son is demon possessed. And you have the disciples who apparently are unable to cast out this demon, and the scribes coming in to argue with the disciples, probably because they're claiming authority to be able to cast out a demon, and they're like, where'd the authority come from? And you have this scene where frustration brews, and Jesus comes down off the mountain and walks right into it. We don't know exactly what the scribes and Pharisees were arguing with, but around every turn, the scribes, the Pharisees, and the religious leaders were trying to trap Jesus, trying to discredit Jesus. So it probably revolves around that. And as Jesus enters into this, it says the crowd that had gathered all of a sudden were just amazed. They were in wonder. Right? Jesus' fame is at a real high right now. And here comes Jesus, walks in like the celebrity into the room, and the hush falls over the crowd, right? And all attention goes to Jesus. What's he going to do? And Jesus looks at them and he goes, what are you arguing about? So prophetic, Jesus. No, he looks at the situation, and basically everyone's frustrated. And Jesus says, what are you guys all frustrated about? Like, what's going on now? Parents, ever been in this moment of frustration with your kids? They're fighting again, and you just walk in and you're like, what is it now? What is it now? I know what it was 10 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago. What's it now? Right? Or walking with teenagers through school, and it's like, what's the drama now? Why is the world falling apart? Share with me. Right? Just that feeling. This whole situation is about frustration. Frustration is the feeling or expressing distress or annoyance because you have an inability to change or achieve something. The scribes are frustrated because they can't control Jesus and his disciples. The disciples are frustrated because Mark 3:15, Mark 6:7, Jesus has empowered them and commissioned them to be able to cast out demons. And in Mark 6:13, they're very successful. This is something Jesus has called them to do, and yet they are unable to cast this demon out. They're frustrated. And then you have the father of this boy who again is let down. Again, nothing has happened, and he's frustrated. The demon that this young boy has is a muting spirit, it's called, causing this boy to be unable to speak. Also giving this boy seizure-like behavior, foaming at the mouth, grinding of the teeth, bodily paralysis. It says later on, this demon often tried to destroy this boy. Because remember, the work of Satan is only to destroy your life. Sin, disease, the brokenness of this world seeks to destroy. Satan wants to destroy. So this demon wants to, so it says often would cast the boy into fire or cast the boy into water to try to drown the boy, to destroy this boy's life. Everyone is frustrated, but also Jesus. I know. There's a holy kind of frustration. There's sinful frustration and there is holy frustration, exasperation. Now, why is Jesus frustrated? Because in verse 19, I don't know how he's not frustrated by saying what he said. Verse 19, he says this, and he answered them, O faithless generation, how long am I to be with you? How long do I have to put up with you or bear with you? Jesus is lamenting in verse 19 the lack of faith on display. The lack of faith. See, frustration is the inability to change something based on your power and control. Being frustrated and living a life of frustration is cheap and easy and takes no effort to do. To be frustrated is as easy as breathing. Just look at something you wish was different, but you don't have the power to change it, so you're frustrated. I'm going to say it again because this is important for us to hear. It's important for me to hear. This is a little bit of a fillet on my own heart. To be frustrated is cheap, easy, and what Jesus is saying is a sign of lack of faith. The boy's father's frustrated, the disciples are frustrated, scribes are frustrated, and Jesus, he says, how long? Now, why is Jesus so emotional here? Maybe it has to do with the fact that just earlier he was on a mountain with his glory displayed. Maybe for that brief, luminous moment, the sheer weight of his humanity was lifted off of him and he could just be who he is. Elijah, Moses, the voice of the Father, and just in his glory. Because Jesus so desperately longs to be with his Father. Man, he wants to be in the kingdom. Remember, Jesus is sacrificing, humbling himself to be one of us on this earth. He wants to be here for you, but it's not his final destination. Like, I remember that feeling of longing when my wife and I first moved to California, the first time I lived really far away from family. And when you're in school, by the way, you have so much time off. It is ridiculous. And so that was also my first step into the workforce where I got 2 weeks. I added it up at seminary and I had like 128 days off a year. Like, I was living the retired life. My sole job was to read and talk. And within this quick, all of a sudden I get 14 days and I'm far away. I know it was my wilderness time. I know it. But I remember that feeling of going and finally visiting my family and then that plane ride home, and we would be passing over the Rockies and I would get this deep, deep grief, sadness, a longing. Because I really wanted to be there, but I got to go back there. Have you experienced this feeling before in your life? Because if you have, then maybe you can connect yourself to what Jesus is feeling in this moment. He was with his Father, he's with Moses, with Elijah, he's in his glory, and he comes off the mountain, and what does he walk into? The reality that humans will find anything to be frustrated about. It's cheap, easy, not divine, very human of us, and reveals the lack of faith of this world. And Jesus grieves it. He laments it. He laments it. Oh, faithless generation. How long do I have to put up with this? How long do I have to bear with this? But even in the midst of Jesus' frustration, he never lost patience for his disciples, never lost patience for Israel. He'll never lose patience for you and I. That's pure gospel right there. So Jesus turns to the boy's father, says, bring the boy to me. They bring the boy to him. The demon, upon seeing Jesus, convulses the boy horribly. But then Jesus commands that demon, you get out of him and never come back. And that's what happens. And the boy falls to the ground as though he is dead, and Jesus stoops down, takes his hand, picks him up, gives him back to his father. It's an amazing moment that Jesus has. Now, the reality is this, though. Jesus performed, in my opinion, a greater miracle than that just prior to casting the demon out. I want you to look with me in Mark 9. See, what I just worked through started in about verse 25. But the great miracle happened just previously when Jesus came to the Father and he said to the Father, "How long has this boy been dealing with this demon?" And the Father says, "Since childhood." That means this demon was chronic and persistent for the life. Now, if you sink into this as a mother, as a father, how painful was it for this dad to have to walk with his son through this debilitating disease of having this demon? And you'll have to forgive my mic. It's been crackling today, so just bear with it, right? It makes me frustrated, but Jesus is greater than a crackle. He's greater than the crackle. Okay. This father mended the wounds after the demon cast him into fire. This father tended to his son after he almost drowned. This father had to sit there and just be with his son as he's foaming at the mouth, as he's in pain, as he's struggling. And this father sits by, no power to change it. He has no power over this situation. And you bet this dad has tried everything. He's gone to everyone. Last ditch effort. Here's this young rabbi we've heard's been casting out demons. I'm going to see him. And he goes to see Jesus. And what happens? He gets the B squad, the disciples. Jesus is nowhere to be seen. Really? The disciples like, we got this. We can do it. And they can't cast out the demon again. He's let down. I got to go home again with my son like this. Jesus walks up to him. He says, "How long has this been happening?" He says, "Since childhood." And the man turns to Jesus and he says, "If you can, have compassion on us and help us." And in that moment, Jesus displays a miracle. He says, if I can, of course I can. The question is this: do you believe I can? Of course I can heal this boy. That's easy. Do you know what's really hard? Getting you to trust me that I can. Faith is a miracle. That in spite of what we're going through, that we believe Jesus can. He can. It says we read it in Jeremiah 32:37, "Behold, I am Yahweh, the God of all flesh. Is anything too hard for me? What do you need done? A mountain cast into the sea? Need a river split open? Like, what do you need?" The question is this, not if God can do it. The question is, do you believe he can? Jesus said, Mark 10:27, Jesus looked at them and said, "With man it is impossible, but not with God. All things are possible with God." So the man, through his tears, cries out to Jesus. He says, "I do believe. Help my unbelief." What an honest, amazing prayer. Help my unbelief. In the tangle of the human heart, we can experience moments in life where we do believe and we are struggling to believe. And in those moments, God is faithful And he will often bring us a word. He'll bring us a person. He'll bring us encouragement that will remind us of what we truly believe, that there is something greater than our unbelief. So Jesus reminds this man, just like when the paralyzed man came down through the ceiling and Jesus says, I forgive you of your sins. And the Pharisees all grumble like, what? Who can forgive sins but God alone? And God goes, you don't believe I can forgive sins. What's easier? What's more beneficial, man, to forgive his sins or to say to him, pick up your mat and walk? But just to show you, I do have power to forgive sins, pick up your mat and walk. And the man did. And everyone's like, oh, look what he did. But just earlier, Jesus said, I forgive you. You're going to walk for all eternity. I cleanse you from the inside out. What's the greater miracle? The fact that he walked or that Jesus forgave his sins? What's the greater miracle? That Jesus cast the demon out of the boy or that Jesus rekindled the faith of his father? The disciples come to him later and they say, why were we not able to cast out this demon? And Jesus said, this one can only be cast out by the power of prayer. Now, what's Jesus saying here? It's not like there's some special category of demon, like these demons respond to human commands and these demons. No, it's not like that. What Jesus is saying is that demons will only respond to my authority and my power. I have the power and authority over demons. You need to rely on me. You need to trust in me to cast out demons. So apparently the disciples went off grid and thought, we got the power, we have the authority, we can do this on our own. And Jesus is reminding them, no. Because to pray is to give complete control of a situation over to God, allowing his power to redeem a situation. Let me ask you this. What are you most frustrated about in life? What situation in your life do you feel is maybe a little bit out of control? Or if you could control it, you would change it? Where are you frustrated? Now, there's certain things that are within our control. You feel tired, you might be able to control going to bed, but maybe you're not sleeping well. Maybe there's money things, maybe a relational thing. I shared down in the Family Life Center last week, I said, my New Year's resolution is more on temperament of control what I can control, hold loosely to what I can't control, and when in doubt, love and sacrifice for somebody else. When in doubt, when I don't know what to do, when you feel like you're a bit at your wit's end, just love and sacrifice for somebody else and make their day. Maybe you're not having a good day. Make someone else's day. Because it's cheap and easy to be frustrated. I can be frustrated all day. Do you know what is way more difficult? To choose love, to choose faith, to choose hope. That there's something that is in control. And a miracle happened when that one made a relationship with me. Mark 9:31, Jesus, he says, this is the greatest miracle to ever happen. That the Son of Man was delivered in the hands of men. They killed him. And after 3 days of being killed, he rose again from the dead. See, the greatest miracle is faith given to us that no matter what this world throws our way, you are a child of the resurrection. Let me give you one major implication of this. I don't know anything more frustrating, hopeless than walking with someone through a persistent, chronic disease of body or mind. Am I wrong in that? Because that is painful, especially if it was a child. But the reality of what Jesus is saying is this, there is a greater miracle that has happened that you are a part of. You will see it. You'll experience it. That every single one of you will experience holistic healing of body and mind. Cancer and anxiety and depression and all things that ail us are not allowed in the kingdom of God. And that's where you will be for all time. And Jesus says that's a miracle. I rose from the dead to bring that to you, to connect that to you. I love you so much that I want you to believe that in this world you will have great suffering, but take heart. I've overcome the world. Trust in me. Believe in me. Have faith in me. Don't just believe what you can see. Believe that I am greater than anything that can be thrown at you in this world. And to pray is to say, God, I trust you in the midst of this situation. I trust you that you are good, you are gracious, you are loving, you are in control of this. To pray is to connect us with the God who gave his life for us. And to say, I can't control this, but you can, and I trust you. And even if the problem I see doesn't immediately relieve itself, I know that you are with me, and that's enough. See, in the tangle of our human heart, we sometimes do believe and disbelieve in the same moment. And you might be as a disciple, feeling like you've been just doing everything with your power, your control, trying to fix something that's not working. Maybe you feel like the Father, you've tried everything, it's not working. The answer to both of them is Jesus, our miracle worker. Whatever you are frustrated about in this world, I promise you, the answer to your frustration is Jesus, your miracle worker. The question is this: he absolutely is more powerful than whatever you're going through. Do you believe that he has control of that situation and he is with you through it? I pray that as we go out into our lives, as we face different situations, that as you come into moments that usually would make you very frustrated, maybe even animated, that you would allow God to redeem that situation by birthing the greatest miracle, and that is the miracle of faith into that situation. And instead of worrying, stressing, and being frustrated, that you would pray your way through it, and that through that, God would sharpen and grow your faith in him. Amen? Amen.